Welcome to the PFDA Mixed Nationals in Bantok Farm of Bacolod. It's been 980 days since the last Mixed National champion was crowned, but we are finally back. Thanks to Upstream Sports TV for this coverage. Let's do a quick recap of the quarterfinal matchups that we are going to have today. So the first one is Vicious versus NFTA. Unfortunately, Vicious lost their second seed to Extreme, and now they're going to match up with NFTA for quarterfinals. And our next matchup is Sunken Pleasure versus Boracay. Sunken Pleasure, a team that everyone knows about, 6-time national champions. And one thing to note here is that every time they make it to the finals of nationals, they get to win. So as long as they make it up to the finals match, they'll likely get it. No Kevin Pascua in this roster. However, they do have Jordan Mirafiles and the Vumos playing with them, that play with them in China in AOUGC 2019. Boracay, a lot of new blood in this roster, but you can't count them out. There's a lot of experience. They train every day on the beach. Let's see how they fare in the grass. Good morning, Ting. Thank you for joining me today.
About was just brushing up on that Boracay team that we were talking about earlier. Sid, I was fortunate enough to be with them for 1 week, and these guys are the real deal. They call themselves the next gen, or the next generation of Philippine Ultimate on the beach, and they have all the right to be in this tournament. A lot of these guys are first timers here in nationals, but I'm very excited to see this new and young provincial team make its appearance for the first time in nationals.
I got a chance and opportunity to play with them back in October last year in preparation for their lineup for WBUC this year. They train literally every day. I remember like the folks that were visiting to get a spot played like 3 or 4 games, and then on our rest day they would still be playing Ultimate. It's crazy. They just love the sport, and they have such a high ceiling at this point.
They're also they were also encountering the part of the tryout process, or part of the tryouts for that team going to the United States, supposedly this last April. Players to be there for weeks on end, and nothing but Ultimate 6 days a week. Like they train 4 days, they take lunch, and then they train another 4. They train 4 hours, take a lunch break, and they take another 4 hours in the afternoon. So and there were so many players that wanted in on this. So it's the provincial surge for the love of Ultimate, and succeeding in making that national team should be great.
And we are out. Looking at this Boracay roster, there's 2 names that pop up. Aled Libon and Karen Arban. These are their top stat producers as of day 1. Let's see how they fare today. There's the pull from Boracay. SB on offense. La Cruz upline. It's a deep. Does not connect.
So we currently don't know the stats, the standing of the field after yesterday's heavy downpour. So I'm hoping that the field has dried up even just a little bit to give us better cuts from our players.
Bid and contact. That was Binoy with a bid, with some contact with Boris Tibus.
Yeah, I think they're going to be calling this back. Oh no, they're not. I stand corrected. They're letting go of that foul call.
Pinoy dumps to Pao Peralta, looking at the break side, holsters it. Swings it to Gabi, and that's a point. Sunken Pleasure holds 1-0.
That's one of the good things and the nice things about our sport. Said is that like earlier that we saw that call and that confrontation, and they're able to speak to each other about the game, about the call, and they were able to resolve things as quick as possible. You don't get that you don't get that kind of relationship in other sports where you usually have a referee to tell you what you did wrong or what you did right, and you just have to stick with what the referee says. In Ultimate, you have to know the rules and you apply the rules to yourselves.
And I think that's one good reason as well why the Ultimate community is such a close-knit community. Like, I know a lot of people talk about the sport from the outsider's perspective, and they're like, people that play Ultimate, they're just good vibes usually. And I think that's one of the reasons why. You're forced to talk to your opponents, and eventually you might even play with them as teammates.
It's like one big family. You will fight with siblings, but there's still
at the end of the day, you just have one another. You don't have anyone else. Anyway, Sunken Pleasure with their first defensive point. Felix Ange with the pull.
Here comes Felix Ange with the pull. Your teammate said.
Of course. Shoutouts to Fel. I'm gonna cheer him from Mandaluyong.
What's inside your cup today, said?
I'm having cold brew because titos like us have acidic stomachs.
All right, back to the game.
Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna need a lot of energy because there's gonna be a lot of action today, and we need to keep up with these people. And just like this Boracay offense, moving so smoothly on this field, making it look so easy, and there's a point. Sunken Pleasure having a difficult time stopping that quick motion from Boracay. Good first offensive point from Boracay.
Notice that they just walked it down, not walk, but literally brought this down the sideline in quick bursts. And again, that's the result of training endlessly on the sands of Boracay. Probably one of the hardest beaches to be able to run in. You get that quick two-step, and that's a result of multiple times training on the sand and working with people like Tim Morrow and coaches like Boboy, Christian, Popoy to help lead that charge for this provincial team. So it's amazing to see the products of Boracay.
Yep, Boracay definitely have the advantage in the short game with that acceleration that each one has developed in such a difficult terrain. Running on beach is not easy. It's fun, but it's not easy. And we saw it in that previous point.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier about how Ultimate is just a tight-knit family, you can probably say that everybody on the Boracay squad and probably more than half of the players on the team of Sunken Pleasure were training and have played together in Beach Ultimate. So it's like they know each other's movements, they know each other's style of play, but they at the same time their competitiveness is just as high as their respect for each other.
Exactly.
And here we go, SP again with a chance to go back on turf.
That's JR Panalaya shooting deep to Pao Peralta. Sunken Pleasure coming out with a quick point of their own. 2-1 in favor of Sunken Pleasure.
Our other teammate, our other point person, and Waterboy Diego serving water to his teammates. shout out Diego. But here's that replay again. Wind is not a factor again in this game, as we see no wind. So it makes it very easy to go for it, to make these easy passes.
But these shots that they're taking, I mean, they make it look so easy. But against like the top-notch players with team, it's really hard to get such a good shot like that. And kudos to Sunken Pleasure, because what I do know is that they've had boot camps on weeks on end. Every week they're going training on Saturday and Sunday, and they really drill down their execution. So, and we've seen that on day one. A lot of their games was lopsided to their victory. Let's see if Boracay can paint a different story in this quarterfinals matchup. That's my Dublin. So we have 4 girls playing in this Boracay offensive line. Mai shoots it deep. It's good. So far, a very clean offensive line for both teams.
Just an interesting fact about that pass by Mai. Mai is actually one of the Ultimate Frisbee players that I know, and I've started practicing a new disc sport here in the Philippines. It's called disc golf, and I just recently found out that she had competed in a tournament here in Cavite just last month. So, you can see that, because of the pandemic, players have been looking for other alternatives or other practices to be able to continue tossing a disc around. So, hoping that the PFDA would come up with more activities for other players to keep themselves busy.
I guess for the folks that aren't so much aware about disc golf, what is disc golf, Ping?
To put it very simply, you get the ball and the golf club, and you turn them into discs, and you turn them into a net, and that's it.
Wow.
It's the exact same concept as golf, but you get rid of the balls. You turn the balls into discs, and you turn the holes into nets, and it's the exact same process. Yeah, you've got a putter, driver, and a wedge, but they're all discs. But between other disc practices, this is by far my favorite. Ultimate is still top of the chart. SP patiently swinging that disc left and right, and a hose stack, deep shot again.
Lala to Binoy. That's the second time Lala has thrown that shot from that corner. And it really shows that this team has trained together for quite some time. This offensive line has certain protocols, has certain movements drilled down to the core. As soon as she gets it in that spot, you can count on her to shoot it deep if there's a wide open receiver. Here we have a replay. The open side.
Clear the line, guys. Clear the line. Nice throw from Lala.
That's one thing that Boracay will have to figure out. That mid-range throw from Sunken Pleasure, that's something that they ingrain in most of their players. And it's really hard to stop. It falls in the middle or the break side of the field. The defensive marker is really in a hard spot to cover that.
Even if they know the movement, or even if they know the placement or the throw that's going to happen, just the breakaway or the timing of the cut is just so pristine and is so accurate that even if you know what offense is going to do, there's no way that you can beat it. So it makes it very difficult for defense to get this. As Boracay makes a pull into the end zone. SP makes a pull into the end zone of Boracay.
A really good pull allows the defense to set up, and we see Boracay showing a bit of pressure in this defense from. Oh, there you go, Alan Hovero almost there to make a bid.
And it's a
They
drop.
turn it over.
And there, first break point of the game by SB. Score is now 4-2.
I think that point, that break point, is all thanks to that pull. It was so deep back on the end of the line, and before Boracay could pass it forward outside of the end zone, we see a lot of orange jerseys already flooding the end zone, making it hard for them to exit. And if you're at the back of the line, there's nowhere else to go. You can't dump it anywhere. You have to pass it forward, and that's what they had to do, and unfortunately, they turned it over. Here we have Miguel Ramos talking to the rest of the lineup. If I am not mistaken, this is their zone lineup, but let's see if they actually bring it out at this point.
If you've noticed, also said announcer has sometimes announced for players to stay off the sidelines or spectators to stay off the sideline. We have what is called a 3-meter rule, which requires players to stay away from the playing field or the center field. This makes it this gives the opportunity for or safety for the players to not make any direct contact or injure any spectators or teammates or opponents. At the same time, it gives our cameraman a better angle for these shots. So please respect the 3-meter rule, guys.
If you want some good shots of the game, respect the 3-meter rule.
Yeah. Maybe we can ask our on-field correspondent, Diego Barrios, to make this more active. But I do believe he's on water distribution duties right now. As we see another turnover by Boracay.
So going back to the roster of Boracay, I think the reason why they don't call themselves Dragons or the Pirates is because it's a mix of both. We have Boboy from American from the Dragons, one of the legendary Dragons. But also we have Mai Dublin and some other folks from the Pirates lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a coalition of both squads. Again, Boracay is known for Beach Ultimate. The two team names that you've mentioned are are Beach Division teams. So for them to put their best foot forwards for this tournament actually makes sense.
And we see that also not just with Boracay, but also with other teams, especially coming into the national competition. Some teams might pick up a player here or there to bolster up their roster. Is that a point? I think it's a point.
Yeah, it is a point. The score is now 5-2. Talking about those pickup players, right? Actually, several players from Sunken Pleasure have also been playing with other teams. As you mentioned, Felix plays with Ultimate Warriors here in Manila, while JR Manolaya plays with Graveyard Ultimate from Batangas. But when the orange bell tolls, everybody makes their way back to Diliman, getting ready for this tournament. So, they don't forget their roots. They don't forget their humble beginnings, where they learned, where their teams are. But at the same time, they're still helping the sport grow and develop in different parts of the country.
It all trickles down.
Yeah. And if
You have
I'm
a timeout
not mistaken,
from Boracay.
yeah,
Go ahead.
there's a timeout. No, so just a little bit of history. I think Sunken Pleasure is the second oldest team in the Philippine Ultimate community to date. So the question is,
Who's
which
the
is the
oldest?
oldest?
Which is the oldest?
That's the question. Who is the oldest?
And they will they say that they're the oldest?
It's the oldest club. I didn't say they're the oldest players. There's a big difference. They're the oldest club, oldest active club. And here's a clue for those that want to know who the oldest frisbee club is in the Philippines. Is you want to get on YouTube and you want to go to Summer League 2022. That's provided by Upstream TV.
We are 20
And you can look
minutes
for
to
the
the game.
Division B finals
20 minutes
between
to the
that
game.
team
50 minutes
and another young
remaining.
team from the South called Baddies. So if you guys know the answer, please shout it out. Let's see
I
if
was
we.
briefly,
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
briefly looking at the day one stats, and one thing that I want to note about this SP lineup is none of their players make it to the top 25 players with stats. And on one end, one might say, how is that possible? But really, I think it goes to show that how deep this roster is. That all of them can perform. All of them can produce the point, the assist, or the block that they need to get the win. It's not reliant on a single player or two, three players. Everyone can shoot. Felix was looking deep to Jane Vargas, but they holster it and reset and turn it over. Irish Ambida with a bid.
Boracay again trying their best to be able to close that gap. This is the quarterfinals of the tournament, meaning top four will go to semis, and the losers of these games will lose. They will not. They're done for the game, and but they're not done for the day. They will still have place in games, but they are out for the contention for championship. So, A games are happening right now. You see a deep put by Boracay, and fell with a great block. Slow it down.
Deep shot by Aled Libon does not connect. Fell, nodding, looking deep. I know that look. He's gonna send it. It's up. Does not connect. Aled Libon picks up the disc. I think he's relatives with David Libon. With Dada.
Libon's a very common name. So.
Libon James.
Yeah.
Diba? Exactly, from the NBA. Oh, there you go. Shot deep. It's good! But they throw it away!
Again, it's the jitters and the nerves of this play. You have to remember that, guys, calm down. Slow it down. And just a little bit of exciter or quarterfinal jitters from Boracay. As SP tries again to work their way down to extend their lead to 3. To 4.
Alan Rivera on the sideline. Dumps to Felix Langue, swings it. Back to Fell. Upline.
Let's go, Rish.
Too deep. Too far for Irish Ambida.
And this is actually the longest point of the game with the most number of turnovers by both squads. So this is now where fatigue and mental toughness play a huge factor.
We're starting to see, I agree, a lot more turnovers, especially that one, the one that we just saw. A wide open receiver. Any other day, they would have made that pass, but with all of the pressure,
Clear the line.
with the top 4 spots on the line, it's not as easy as it would seem.
We hear again the tournament director for the tournament, Anjo O'Malley, reminding players to stay off the sidelines. Guys, respect the 3-meter rule.
It's Atot de los Santos with a yellow headband, relatives of the another Boracay legend, Panoy de los Santos, and I think they get a point based on that one high five that we see.
Late pa na.
Yep, I think that's a point. With SP walking to the other side. Score is now 5-3.
I don't think that was Panoy, but I think that was his relative Atot.
Yeah. Atot de los Santos.
Yeah, because if that was Panoy, I'd be very upset because I did not see him in Boracay last week. I wanted to go back to your topic earlier, said about how the players of SP are not anywhere near the top 25 for individual awards. Not only is their talent so distributed, but their respect and their trust in each of their teammates. They remind each other, they know that this is a team sport and not an individual sport. So there are no glory hogs on that team. They're just there to get the point. When one person scores, they all score, and when they make a mistake, and one person makes a mistake, they all make a mistake. And that has led to 6 national championships.
And at the end of the day, that's the only stat that matters, right?
Yep. You want to get that star on your jersey. That's the only way you're going to get it.
Let's see if Sunken Pleasure can get that 7th star in 2022. Jam Makaraeg gets the under. To Gabby Rodil. Comes into JR. Sunken Pleasure with options on both open side and break side. Lands. Shoots it deep. Good. Lala Cruz. Can anybody stop her? I think there's no doubt that this Boracay line will be able to score. But I think the question of this game is, will they be able to generate enough break points? And so far, it has not been the case.
I think the question is more is, can they stop this SP offensive line? It's just, we've seen them over and over and over again just deliver time and time again.
Yep, so far this offensive line of Sunken Pleasure has only turned over the disc once. Out of 4 points that they played.
Yeah.
That is very impressive.
Quick shout out to Boboy from Organ. Happy Father's Day. And all the other fathers out there in the fields of Bacolod, spending time away from their families and their children to play Ultimate.
Happy Father's Day to you, Ping.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day to you too, Seth.
No, not yet.
So unless we count a cat as your kid.
I'm what do you call that? Fur parent.
Okay. You're a furrent.
I'm a furrent, exactly.
All right. My with that nice grab. Now Boracay getting momentum as they shoot deep.
That's Atot.
But
Oh no, that's Aled Limon. Fails to bring it down. Christian Guerrero with the disc. Looking for Opson. Shoots it deep. They get it. That's another break point by Sunken Pleasure. 3 so far, bringing the lead up to 4.
And that also gives them half. Mirror is now score is now 7-3 in favor of SB.
So I'm looking at the chat here. We have Cherry C. Nice breakaway, Lance and Lala. Hi, at the Cherry. Let me open up the Facebook feed. Let's see if there's any comments from there.
What do you think they have to be able to do now? Said, what does Boracay has to do now to be able to catch up?
40 minutes
A lot
remaining.
more.
Yes,
A lot
Phoenix,
more than
40
this.
minutes remaining.
I mean, and I don't blame them. It's really hard to stop SB when they're running in all cylinders like this. Their offense is so clean. Their defense is just outstanding. But I guess, I mean, as any coach or any captain would say, Boracay will just have to take it 1 point at a time. If they're on offense, they will just focus on getting open cuts, getting good passes in, not dropping the disc, and then getting the point, and then focusing on the next task at hand.
I've also noticed that most of their offense has been deep shots. Unfortunately, or most of their turnovers have been deep shots, and the problem with that is, yes, they make those deep shots, but those deep shots just sit or float. It gives enough time for defense to be able to catch up, and it becomes a 50-50 ball. I'd like to see more in cuts and more short game from Boracay, which they're really known for. They're known for working the disc down, especially when playing on a beach field where the field's not that big. So long throws are not their specialty. But they are known for their inside game and their in-cut game. So I'm hoping to see more of that in the future. As we see Boracay just bring it down. And we see a block. I'm guessing it was a layout block.
I think so. I think that was Osh Magsino with the bid to get the D. Felix directing traffic for his team with his vert stack. Looking for a break option, gets it. Jane Vargas with a disc now. That's Chin. Gets it. That is Wency Guevara with a point. Gotta commend this offensive point from this defensive line. A lot of patience and a lot of movement from everyone in the team. We saw earlier Jane Vargas moving upline to get that reset. Everyone was moving around very smoothly, and it's really hard for the defense to stop such a dynamic offensive line.
And it's like one of the things that I, want to just emphasize there is the going back with the distribution of the disc of SB. Everybody's getting touches on that disc. Everybody's making a move, and everybody's just filling in the position that needs to be done. That just shows you trust in each player's capabilities to be able to do the action that they need.
Score is now 8-3 in favor of Sunken Pleasure.
Funny thing about this defensive line, we have a regular offensive player for SP on the D line right now, Mr. Christian. I'm referring to Christian Guerrero, and you know, I was with him last week in Boracay, and we were talking about what he was planning to do for the next couple of tournaments. He was going to nationals and whatnot. He said to me that nationals right now was, you know, it is important to him, but he is currently working as a coach for the outdoor, what's it called? Said outdoor running, outdoor
obstacle sports,
obstacle sports national team of the Philippines that's scheduled to go to Las Vegas later this year. And but he said his passion, his commitment is still going to be on nationals if he can make it. But since, you know, a regular offensive player, a regular captain for this squad is making way for their newer players to step up, and he's willing to give that up. And, you know, that just shows you some commitment and some trust in the process. As we see Boracay right now, the doorstep.
Oh! Nico Gonzalez blocks it. A nice attempt from Boracay to save that disc, but good heads-up play from Nico.
SP now on the offensive, working it down with a little give and go. It'll be so cool if Miko can score at this point.
That's Mark Butil with the disc to Christian Guerrero. Who calls a timeout. And just real quick about Christian, I was talking to Fel the other day, and like he shared to me, well, I don't know if this is in confidence. You can just kill me later, Fel. But it's nothing. It's just Christian was like saying, well, to Fel that he wants to play defense for this tournament. He's like, I think it's gonna be fun if I play defense in this tournament. And I think that speaks a lot about his character. That, I mean, you're already on the offensive line, and I mean, most teams will put their best players on their O-line, but for him, maybe he's at a level where he's like, he wants to be even more well-rounded as a player, where it's not enough anymore to just stay in that O-line. And I think that speaks to the character of SP as well. They're at the highest level already, but they don't stop. They keep training, they keep pushing the tempo. And so far, it seems like they'll get the 7th championship at this rate.
I agree with that too. And again, one of the challenges of any athlete is to be comfortable in uncomfortable position and uncomfortable situations. As we see that block by Nico.
A very uncomfortable position Boracay was put in, care of Miko, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's again the pressure for any athlete is to be, you know, take that next step forward and become a better player the following day or the following tournament. You know, you, like what I was saying, you want to be comfortable in uncomfortable positions or situations. So maybe, you know, Christian at that time was already very comfortable in playing offense a lot, because he's in control. I mean, an offensive player is always in control of the tempo of the game, the throw, the cut, and the movement. But on defense, you're currently you're always on your toes. You're always, you know, trying to limit the movement of your opponent, and that makes it more challenging. So let's see how this goes. As we see Christian now successful with that defensive possession, and now trying to get another break point with SP.
High back to Nico Gonzalez, but there is a call. Traveling. They reset to Mark Butel, back to Christian Guerrero. Looking at that break side, really. But gets an under. That doesn't connect. What a beautiful threading the needle shot there. Boris Tibus on the sideline. Swings it to the middle of the field. So far, we're seeing a lot more short passes from Boracay, and maybe this is the fruit of the timeout that was called earlier. For sure, Boboy Famarkan rallied these kids.
And you see that they're just being patient. They're slowing down their tempo. They're not forcing these shots as they make another attempt at a score, and it looks like it is a turnover.
Alad Libon had to bid for that disc, unfortunately.
I think they're calling an injury substitution.
All fields, 30 minutes remaining.
I think Miko is taking a break, or is pulling himself out. They're subbing somebody in.
Miguel Ramos comes in. Christian brings the disc down, looks deep, big backhand hook. Orange jersey there to pick it up. Miguel floats it to the break side. But Sunken Pleasure turves it at the end zone. So Ping, if I were to ask you, I mean, just going off the discussion we had earlier on Christian, if you were to choose, would you prefer to be in the O-line or D-line?
The answer to that is the same answer that every Ultimate Frisbee player says, and that is, it depends. I like playing O, but I love, defense wins games. So the goal of any team is to play more defensive points than offensive points. So offensive line should just be playing one time. Defense should be playing the rest of the game. As SP just scores another point, making the score 9-3 in favor of Sunken Pleasure.
That was Miguel Ramos to Bea Martinez, lover's pass right there.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those very long points where it's a game of not only physical toughness but mental toughness, knowing what to do in order to break it down. And SP getting this score just shows that experience. It shows why they have 6 stars on their chests.
The fact that they can still execute and score despite that long point shows how deep of a preparation they have for this tournament. And normally this SP team has like 3 lines. 1 offensive line and then 2 defensive lines. So this is still the D line, but it's a completely different set of people. We have Felix Angue, Osh Magsino, Alan Hovero, Irish Ambida, Rachel Carlos, Jane Varquez, and let me just get the name, Lauren Liwanag in this line.
Yeah. And what, like you were saying, usually teams would have like around 3 lines, so it's around 21 people. SP has 27 players on their roster. You know, they've got 12 women and 15 men, evenly balanced, and it just shows you that they've got a steady rotation. And I'm pretty sure the reason why they're mixing and matching these lines is that they want to give everybody an ample opportunity to compete and also gain experience in this tournament. as we see a turnover made by Boracay at their doorstep.
Lauren Liwanag picks up the disc, dumps it to Alan Hovero. That's Rachel Carlos. Back to Lauren. Resets to Felix Sangue. Looking at the break side. It's good. That's Osh Magsino with the point. Yeah, I mean, talking about this roster, we have 27 players in Sunken Pleasure in their roster. And aside from spreading that opportunity to have experience, I think it also allows this team to go deep into the tournament. So when push comes to shove on semifinals or finals, your key players are still fresh because they didn't have to burn their legs early in the tournament.
That is so true, and you know that everybody, and that's even more true when you know that everybody's giving 110% when they step on the field. Um, it does make sense to be able to not burn out your players, and having a deep and well-oiled roster, fully functional, doing all the things they need to do, helps get that achievement going.
I mean, in any tournament, there's a lot of factors that are unknown. Like you don't know the quality of the field. As you can see, you don't know the weather. You don't know how good your opponents are going to be. But I think one characteristic of a good team is that they will take any chance that they can get to control what they have, and that's exactly what Sunken Pleasure has done preparing for this tournament.
And I also think that a good team will not care about those uncontrollable variables. Like they don't care about the field, they don't care about the weather. They're not gonna use that as an excuse to why they lost the game. They're just gonna say, you know, we'll work and adjust our game to whatever situation or whatever that is set in front of us.
We have Atot de los Santos. Upline to My Dublin doesn't connect. Bea Martinez picks up the disc and dumps it to Wency Guevara. Mishak De Mayo. I really like how this Sunken Pleasure line isn't uncomfortable with losing yardage. As Christian Guerrero with that fancy hammer down the
I
field.
I think that's called a scoober, said.
Scoober, sorry. Scoober, hammer, it's the same thing. Same thing. Don't be such an ultimate snobbing. But yeah, it's a scoober.
Boboy with the block for Boracay. Let's see if they can score on this one in the point.
Offline pass. That's Boboy right now with the disc. Boboy also has some good tubers, but unfortunately that one didn't connect.
I think that
it
was
was
a
called.
hammer. Said I think that was a hammer.
It's the video. It's the video feed. It's hard to tell from just this one camera.
I'd like to ask the audience for help. Do you think that throw of Christian was a hammer or a scoober? And do you think that throw of Boboy was a hammer or
Or
a scoober? As we see Boracay finally score.
10-4 is still in favor of Sunken Pleasure. We have a replay of the point.
So, like the round robin game, like the crossover games yesterday, this is a 70-minute game, and we're approaching the 20-minute mark in this game, in this tournament, in this game. Said, do you think that Boracay still has that opportunity to end this with the score being 10-4, or catch up at least?
Well, Ping, I'm a bit of a romantic, so I'd still like to believe that Boracay can make a run for it. I mean, do you remember the time where Boracay Pirates caught up to an 8-1 deficit against USA?
I not only remember it, that I was there.
Anything
yeah,
is possible.
Anything is
Yeah.
possible. Huge factor is that we are on the beach. That was on the beach, and we're on grass. But I do believe you. Anything is possible with these two teams at this stage. As we see SP moving the disc forward, trying to inch their way up to that 13-point cap.
That's Master Lance Angeles with a white cap, swinging it to Binoy. Under from Gabi Rodil, shoots it on the break side. It's good. KR Panalaya with a point. So yes, we have David Masangkay confirming that it was a scuba.
All right. So the score now is Ping 1 said 0.
But the more important score is that SP is 11 and Boracay is 4. Have a replay of that beautiful shot from Gabi. And again, just to belabor the point, that offensive line of Sunken Pleasure is just so smooth. Getting that under, and then Gabi already knowing that she will have a receiver on the break side, shoots it. And JR just needs to just walk towards it for the catch.
Also, for spectators, have noticed that players or teams would be making hand gestures as they are about to make those pulls. Just to remind everybody that this tournament is following gender ratio rules, and in this case, we're following gender ratio rule A. This is at the beginning of the game. They flip and they decide the structure of whether it's going to be 4 guys and 3 girls, and vice versa. So they follow an ABBA format in this reference. So, and it helps. The reason why they're doing this is to help with proper distribution of gender roles in this game. So if you noticed before, as we mentioned in yesterday's broadcast, Ultimate was very male dominated in the earlier years. This rule and this gender ratio rule is one of the factors that WIFTIF has made in order to help with the distribution of the game between both men and women.
In terms of rosters as well, I do know that some teams factor this in when it comes to their offensive line. So some teams have already started carrying 8 players for their O-line just in case that they need to put out 4 girls on the field. That's Buboy to Aladibon.
Atras. Hanap, Rich. Hanap.
My Dublin. OI backhand. Pick called. Buboy from Arkan. I think signaling someone to cut break or clear out. Hammer.
Nice pressure!
fumbles out of the hands of Alan Libon. And Alan Javero picks up the disc, shoots it deep immediately, but Buboy was there to shut it down.
Force, Iris. Force muna, Iris. No rounds.
Let's go!
Boracay turns it over.
Kalma, kalma.
Alan Javero to Irish Ambida. To Rachel Carlos.
Bae, sige. Bae mo.
To Chingo. Dumped it to Wensi. Wensi to Chin. Looking for an upline. Doesn't get it. Alan Javero gets the under. To Lauren Liwanag. To Wensi, to Alan. Some really good movement here from Sunken Pleasure. Moving that disc around. Stall count doesn't go past 4 or 5 in each possession. Meaning defense has little time to rest and little time to set up. That is another break point from Sunken Pleasure. Bring the score now to 12-4. One more point away from finishing the game.
Yeah, as we are reaching close to this game, close to the end of this game, it looks like. You know, we can't help but wonder what is next in line for this Boracay team. Like, what do they want to be able to do, or how are they going to regroup and finish this tournament strong? As it looks like, we were looking at potentially the last point of this game if SP continues with their defensive stops.
Also, I'm curious to see as to how the other quarterfinal matches are progressing so far. On the other field, just to recap, we have Vicious versus NFTA, Extreme versus Orchid Blues, and Mulatto versus G-Spot. I am curious to see as to why the crowd is shouting, what happened on that field, what kind of play is happening there. I'm sure the other quarterfinal games are tight. That's field 1. I think that's the match between
Vicious and NFDA.
Vicious and NFTA. For sure, that's gonna be one hell of a game. Vicious unfortunately lost their second seed. Their rank as second to Extreme yesterday in the game that we covered. And if they win their quarterfinals against NFDA, it's going to be Sunken Pleasure against Vicious on semis.
Notice that again, gender ratio rule was implemented: 4 girls, 3 guys. Christian takes his sub out.
Ball goes out of bounds. So just briefly talking about the other teams in the top 8. There's Mulatto on the 3rd seed, the Mindanao stronghold. We've yet to see them make a finals appearance in nationals, but they just might do it this year. They're seeded 3rd. They have a good road to finals. If they beat Extreme on the other end, Extreme or Orchid Blues on the other end, we might see them appear for the first time in the finals.
I actually want to contest that, as we see a layout grab for the point for Boracay said. I do believe Mulatto made their way to the finals in Tagum.
They did?
Yes.
No, that was Boracay. Tagum is Boracay Dragons versus Extreme. That was the time when Extreme won as national champions.
Oh, the
Okay,
second time
so
that
we
they
have
won.
we have a rematch, Ping. Can anyone confirm if Mulato has been to the finals of nationals?
Yeah. Just giving a chance for you to catch up, bro.
Okay, thank you. Such a good spirited person.
What I do know that is Mulato has represented the Philippines in the World Flying Disc Federation Ultimate Club
Yes.
Championship in Cincinnati.
Yes.
And they've also become
Yeah.
the champions of AOU GCC back
Yes.
in 2017. As we see something crawling on our screen.
Okay. Okay, it's gone.
You gotta tell the guy tell the fly 3 meters away. 3 meters. Respect 3 meters.
But the fly isn't the player. He doesn't have to respect the 3-meter rule.
Disc space, disc space.
Okay.
And he's back on the screen. So
one of the challenges for this Boracay roster is, again, we talked about it. They train a lot on sand, but it's still different to play in the grass. And what I do know is that they have to go outside of Boracay. They have to ride a jetty to Aklan mainland just to be able to train on the field. And logistical problems like that are just like painful to have if you want to train at the national level. Lala Cruz on the break side, Gabi Rodil finishes the game. That is the game, 13-5 in favor of Sunken Pleasure. So a replay of that, and again we see this buttery smooth offense from Sunken Pleasure. We have a lot more replays to come on the highlights of this game, but that's the end of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will come back again for the next set of games, Pingoy and myself to commentate. So stay tuned here in Upstream Sports TV. Thank you for joining us.